Welcome to the Survivor's Chair podcast, a podcast where we break down our stories and our trauma, understanding how they have impacted our career and our life. This is a place where we break free from shame, own our truth, and step into our power, one story at a time. Hello, my friends, and welcome back to the Survivor's Chair. I'm your host, Kim Russell, and today I am joined by my friend, Julie Schindler. Did I get it right?
Yep.
Okay. I want to start this episode with a little storytelling because I love to share how I've met these amazing people who join me here on the podcast. So Julie and I met during an online speaking class back in 2021, right after COVID, when Clubhouse was really popular. And if you remember Clubhouse, it was a live audio app where you just jumped into rooms and you just talked. Clubhouse was one of the very first times I shared my story publicly, and I was really freaking nervous, to say the least. Julie was there. She was moderating the room, and when I fumbled my words or when I got too emotional to talk, she guided me and held the space so gently and helped me get through that first time. And I thought to myself, I just met one of the kindest, most compassionate people ever. So our connection stayed intact and has grown over the years. Julie also supported me through one of the most difficult times in my life. While going through breast cancer, Julie performed distance Reiki healing on me. And there is no doubt in my mind that she is one of the reasons I was able to get to the other side. Julie is an Intuitive Akashic Reiki Master and the creator of the Feargiveness Frequency, a healing and color system that helps transform trauma into something meaningful through energy work, color wisdom, and soul guidance. She lives with a life-altering spinal injury, and her healing journey has been anything but traditional. Julie learned how to move beyond chronic pain by literally coloring it, reclaiming her voice, her story, and her sense of purpose along the way. Today, Julie helps others remember their own light, rewrite their stories that once held them back, and uses color as a powerful tool for healing and self-expression. She's also the founder of SPEAKUp and Color, a charitable initiative using art and color to help children around the world express emotion and heal. And I am going to let Julie talk more about that. But welcome, my friend. You know how much I love you, and I am just honored to have you here today.
Oh, you made me emotional because it took me back to those moments that we met, and we had never seen each other before. It was just the voice that carried that such love and connection.
And your voice, I'll never forget your voice over the app of the Clubhouse, because I was like shaky and nervous, and I felt like I was on a stage even though nobody could see me, but you were like, your voice was just so calming. And I just remember from the day I met you, it was an amazing connection.
Clubhouse was my way back into the world. And it was something, an audio only app that I could do from my pillow. No one saw that I was still in my pajamas or, sitting in my bed, propped up by pillows. No one got to see that. I just got to show up. And really that's where it started. Sacred service is to show up and serve others and hear their stories or help them with some of the tools that I had learned throughout my careers that I was able to bring to Clubhouse. And it was just a match made in heaven.
It's amazing how it all just lined up, and I think of all of us that took that class that, some of us have dispersed, but there's still the core group of us from around the world that still connect. And it's fascinating. I love sharing how I meet people, because the power of just putting yourself out there is huge. So I know that after reading that, people want to hear your story, and it's like, you start however you want to start, but I'm here just to
I love that.
Listen, ask questions, whatever.
Awesome. So stop me if I go
Never.
wrong, but I think
Never.
I have to go back, because I had such a beautiful life. I was disassociated from my childhood. I kind of tucked that world away in a trash can, is what I call it. So at like 17, I had stood under the northern lights in Alaska, and I had this like just moment of I could not do life anymore. And it was in that moment where I put everything that wasn't my fault, everything that I had endured through my childhood, I put it in this trash can. And then I just went on to conquer the world. And I met my husband on a blind date a few months later. I started this beautiful career right out of high school. I had two beautiful children by the age of 25. So I got the keys to my first Nordstrom store as a store manager. So I was running the world, and I was coloring a whole new trash can of, beauty and fashion and all the things that I loved. And it was about 15 years into my career in the fashion industry. I was in leadership for Nordstrom. I had been with the company for 15 years, but my last 8 years or so was as a store manager. So my very last store, I had about 350 employees. We did about 56 million in annual sales. And so it was just a big job. And I had become the youngest store manager at 28. So by then I had poured everything literally into that job. And I lost the joy of it. Leadership became lonely for me. And this moment of clarity had happened when my son had got hurt and he had to have back surgery. And I needed to take 12 weeks off to care for him. And stepping away from the first time, I had, the maternity leaves were a few months, but this was like stepping away from it all and just giving it all back. And it was in those 12 weeks that I just realized that life is happening without me. And I needed to find a way to be a part of it. And I went back and I just didn't have the same joy. And so I ended up leaving it all in search of joy. I walked away from my career, from my salary, everything. And I spent the whole year with my family just traveling the world. I just wanted to reconnect. I had never meditated or sat on a yoga mat. I had no self-love. I had nothing pouring into me. And at the end of that year, I knew I needed to go back to work. I knew I needed to find a new career. And so I had researched. I was very picky. And I found a company that I could stay in the Northwest, but I could travel the world. And I was so excited. And it was my third day on the job. And I kind of laid out my entire new career in front of me of all the places I was going to go. The kids would be graduating. My husband could travel with me. And I was just set in it. And it was my third day on the job. And I just was in the back room learning. I had leadership, but I didn't know the coffee business. I was in the back room of a local store, and a box fell on my head and crushed my cervical spine. And it was just you say wrong moment at the wrong time. But that's really, truly what it was. I just was in the wrong place at the wrong time for this box that found me. And I've spent the next 13 years living horizontally. I did reconstructive surgery. I did a ton of physical therapy, but I could never get more than 4 hours standing. I had permanent small holes and tears in my spinal column, which I still have, and they were inoperable. So after the reconstructive, after the surgery, after the physical therapy, I was left with just this life of ups and downs. Literally, I could be up for a few minutes and then I have to be down again. And the downs would happen in what's called pain peaks, but my body is depleted because the pain was so excruciating that I would pass out from pain. And I still do. They're just different now. But this occurred, and I was striving to get my life back. My kids were 10 and 14, and they all life changed. They had to become my caregivers. And those first 8 years were very dark, because I just didn't know how to live with the chronic pain. I was on the highest opiate dosages that you could have. And then I moved on to pain management and then ended up on palliative care. So it was just, I was preparing to leave the world. The doctors had said we were at the end of all medical possibilities. There was nothing more that they could do for us. And I was losing my ability to chew and swallow. And so it came to 2020. And we had finally gone through this horrid ordeal because it was an on-the-job injury. And we had finally closed that in February of 2020. And we were transitioning all of our care over to our team of doctors. But that was right when the world was shutting down and no one knew why. And so it was very difficult to get back on the same palliative care programs, to go through all the testing and all the scans and stuff again. And it was just, I sat in the doctor's office in my wheelchair and in my neck brace. And I was just like, what am I going to do? And I received this voice that said, it's okay. This time will be different. And I had a few spiritual connections when my father-in-law had passed away a couple years prior. When he left this world, he just never left me. And he died suddenly. And so the family knew nothing. No, he was a World War II vet. Everything in his house was kind of booby trapped, or things were hidden. No one knew where to find anything. But it was because of this connection that I still had with him that he guided me through where to find everything. And I thought I was going crazy. My family thought I was going crazy. I just thought we all chalked it up to I was going to be leaving this world and I was close to the other side. And that's why I was still receiving him. And like a few days after he passed, I went into the hospital because my heart had completely changed its rhythm. And I thought I was having a heart attack. And in the months that followed, I ended up having a heart attack where my heart just gave out and it restarted with a new rhythm. I don't know how to explain it, but it was in that moment that there was this beyond me connection that happened. And that followed through the palliative care. And the doctors were just saying that the deterioration was too much, that it would just continue and that there was no way back from it. So I started to plan my funeral and I started to create my eulogy to save pain for my family. And it was in a moment of clarity beyond, I was mostly sedated. The drugs that my family kept me on, based on the doctor's regimen, was very not here. And so this was this lucid moment in between receiving more drugs that I started to just pour out this plan and this eulogy. And while I was writing the eulogy, as I finished it, I looked down and it was all gratitude. It was just gratitude for everyone in my life, for my kids, my family, all of my super pets that helped me through my healing journey, and all of our friends, everyone we had met. And it just had this beautiful glow about it. And I received this pop of color. And it's so hard to explain, but it covered my vision. And it really was this like bright blue, like I'm wearing today. It was just bright blue pop of color. And the message that came in was that you're not going anywhere, and that we're not done with you. Your life is not done, and that tell them now. Do not wait. Tell them now. So I took that eulogy, and I didn't have Instagram or Facebook at that time. I restarted all of that up and signed up, and I put it out there as a thank you note to all of those that had supported us. They didn't know it was my saying goodbye words to them. They just knew that here is this gratitude and this thank you note. And that began the journey. And so I would start to receive these pops of color. And one told me to write out these stories from my childhood. Like it was me kind of meeting my inner child, and that together, these pops of color, we would write out, voice out, because our hands didn't work, voice out these stories. And it was things that I had tucked away in my trash can of traumas and insecurities. And so my inner child, and then it was just share it. There was no editing. There was no, I didn't care it was like a Pandora's box. At that moment, I just didn't care. I had no care of who it may have affected. I just needed to share her story, the story of the little girl that lived within me, that believed in color, that saw color, because that was the last time that I connected with color. was her. And it was her poetry and her colorings and writing songs and all the things that she did before she lost her color. And then these stories just started pouring out of me. And that's where the healing really began. So when we got to 2020 and we got to that moment where this time will be different, it was a decision that went against the medical field and my family. I was not supported in any way, but I needed to stop palliative care. I needed to stop the opiates, stop the pain, and do it without a cessation plan. It was just like, this is it, I'm done. And every single day, I would receive the message that it's okay, this time will be different. And I received these beautiful pops of color that showed me what to drink through a straw. Because in that doctor's appointment, they told me that my deterioration of my food intake, of my chew and swallow, I would need a feeding tube. And that's where Feargiveness was birthed. It was the fear of losing my voice. It was the only thing that I had left, right? I had no physical movement. I had no outside activities. It was through my voice. It was the only thing that I had. And I was determined not to lose it. So these pops of color showed me how to blend up the rainbow. And I started drinking in all these nutrients. And I was told that I would need to be filled from the inside out for me to be able to get off palliative care. I needed the nutrients on the inside for it to help this journey that we were taking. And so day by day, whether that was watermelon or cucumber, I just would drink in the rainbow of all of these colors. I lived off of chia seeds that I would put in hint water and freeze-dried powders that had vegetables and herb or vegetables and fruit. And for about 6 months to a year, that's what I ate and drank every single day. And it was about 6 months in to that, I had fully been off of opiates. And that's where I was learning how, through color and connecting with color and these pops of color, how I could actually color chronic pain. I would wake up every day and I would ask myself, how do I feel? And I would receive a pop of color. And then I would just be like, okay, so that's how we're feeling today. How do we expand that? Or if it was a dark color, okay, we got to do something. How do we, change the color, change the narrative of the day? I had been using alcohol for pain in that transition because it was legal in all 50 states. And so the transition of going from opiates to alcohol, that was a whole nother can of worms and closets that opened. And so it was about eight months later that I decided that's it. I could do this without alcohol. If I could do it without opiates, I can do this without alcohol. We were using cannabis at some points so I would have enough chew and swallow. I would be able to use a cannabis oil, very, very concentrated, that would give me 4 hours that I could chew and swallow. And we just built this life. And then all of a sudden it was one by one, these pops of color would show me how to do this sober and how to do it without cannabis, and then how to do it even without coffee, any stimulants, how to get off my forever meds. It showed me all of these little different steps, and it takes time, but it took me all these different little ways that I could use color to heal. And in that process, we were able to dump out our entire trash can. Of all of our trash cans, there was a closet full of everything that's ever happened to us that we didn't know how to heal, and bring it into the light to see if it still held the same amount of pain, and then go into it one by one and hold that trauma, that insecurity, that shame or blame, and offer it self-love and self-forgiveness and gratitude. And each time it would change the color. Something that started in crimson red that was sexual trauma or things that occurred, would always be in this really dark red. And through using Feargiveness and using all of these colors, when you poured these colors into you as a being, you started to create this frequency of color, because each color has a frequency and a vibration of healing. And so I would just use, kind of build it. Every color I would receive would go into this frequency. And then every time I wanted to heal something, I would sit in that frequency with all of these colors that we had already met and used and knew. And then the frequency just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And then it became this Feargiveness frequency that is a healing modality. And we all have it in us. We just have to tap in and say, okay, today we are going to color chronic pain. Today we're going to use grounding. We're going to use water. We're going to use music and sound or essential oils. It's all in there. It's just building this from this foundational spot. And I call it my be jamming sessions. I would jam out in my Feargiveness frequency with my inner child, and I would heal and self-forgive and give her whatever she needed, reparent her. And then we would have these pillow parties where we would dance on our pillow and let it all go. And it's just become this constant healing practice for me. And then now I'm able to share this not only with adults, I'm able to share this same process with children and teaching them how to color their emotions. So what if, the key to it all, what if everything we need in healing comes in color? Like, who knew?
Who knew? And, as you're talking, I'm going back because that's literally when we met. So I'm not sure that you were, off of your opioids when we met. I mean, I remember you would have to stop on Clubhouse or whatever. Like, I've had enough. I have to go. And I didn't, of course, there's so much I didn't understand. And even when you started the Feargiveness, like, I didn't understand. I'm in a completely different spot now. When these like pops of color were coming in, did they have an emotion attached to it already? Or were you attaching something, or an emotion or a feeling or something to it? Like, my color is yellow. Like, yellow is sunshine and good and feels good. Everything's yellow.
Yellow is my favorite color. When the colors come in, they come in with gratitude. So it's gratitude or love. And then that will, because the gratitude and love is one of the highest frequencies. And so it comes in at the time, that's how it felt. But and now we see that it is, God's love. It's the God frequency. It's true unconditional love that's pouring into you. And it's a pathway out of pain by following that color. And when the color comes in, it always has some of a message. And for me, it just kind of blurs my vision. So I might be in the middle of cooking and I'll receive a pop of color and it's just a blurred vision. And it's a moment of pause to feel that. Where does it land in my body? Because that color can come in and it would teach me that I have overexerted in this one particular area based on whatever I was doing. And I needed to pause and then it would give me like, what do I need in this now moment? And it would show me, go outside and stand in the sun, or go take your pillow and take a nap on the grass, drink water. It just kind of kept guiding me. And then those invitations of coloring the pain taught me how to use water, because it's scientifically proven it takes 11 seconds for the very first sip of water to move through your entire body and touch every organ. So I do 11 sips of water. Within 11 minutes, I know that whatever emotion or pain I'm feeling, it has the process of moving through me within 11 minutes. So those were just these little, I just would gather them. They became my treasure chest. And every time I would upcycle an emotion or a trauma or an insecurity, that would go into the treasure chest. And so my trash can is really, truly gems, because everything that's ever happened to you has created who you are. And even in the darkest depths of trauma, you can find gratitude. And so when you infuse that trauma, insecurity, the shame or blame with gratitude gratitude for the lesson, gratitude for the people that were there to support me, gratitude for thriving or surviving through it. Once you add gratitude, the color starts to change. And then you add self-love, the color changes a little bit more. You add self-forgiveness, and it's like a flower blossoming, like, oh my goodness. And then you look at it differently. You see that it doesn't hold the same amount of pain or the same color. And so it really just shifts your subconscious mind. And the easiest way to change our subconscious mind is to change our thoughts, the words how we speak to ourselves, self-love, mirror work. There's so many aspects of it. But when I first met you, I would have been 6 months sober. So I would have been 6 months into coloring pain, and it was painful. I'm not saying it's sunshine and roses. It was painful, but I knew I would have 40 minutes of a good, moment to be on Clubhouse, or then I would be down for a couple hours, and then I'd have another up that I could do something else, drink in the rainbow, put my rainbow on repeat, down again, up, go outside and stand in the grass or do energy work, down again, up, spend time with my family, down again. So I learned, and I still, that to this day, it's what guides me and really allows me to thrive each day.
Like, speechless. Because there's so much. I think that's what people really need to understand. When you do take all of the stuff away that you're using to cover up your trash can, shall we say, it is painful and it is work. But what's on the other side is amazing, but it's hard work. And you were dealing with physical pain, emotional pain. And let's talk about your family a little bit, because you said that at first they were like, you're nuts, you're crazy. And how did they finally jump on board with what was going on with you? And were they just scared? Was that, or and even scared of their own uncoverings and whatever?
Yeah, they were scared. They would observe me very closely. Like, I felt like I was being watched at all moments and waiting for me, because they've seen me have to say goodbye to them. They've seen me be rolled out in an ambulance or be in the hospital. They've seen all of that. So for them to try to see me do it without alcohol, without pain, without opiates, it was very difficult for them to see me in pain, because it was that transition of understanding how to do it. It was also, the biggest thing that I learned was that your body keeps score. So some of the physical pain, I knew I had the physical pain, it's here, but some of the other pain that I was carrying wasn't because of this injury. And it was just this weight of the world and of where it was being held within my body. So as I started to do the healing and I started to bring in color, because my world didn't necessarily have color in it. I didn't own a single plant in my house because I thought I was a black thumb, like I couldn't grow a plant. So there was that it was stale. And so I would change the phone screen on my phone every day, because it's the first thing you look at. And I would change it to something that brought me joy, something with color. And it would be the first thing I would see with color. And that was the first aspect of color I brought into my world. I didn't wear color. My bedding wasn't color. I didn't have color in my bedroom. And so little by little, I would just keep adding color, a calendar with flowers on it, different things within my room. And then if I needed to purchase something, I would purchase it in color. I would push myself out of that black, or gray or white, and I would buy color. And so it just was little by little baby steps that these aspects of color came inside. I didn't know it wasn't until a year or two in that I learned about barefoot grounding. And I wish I had known sooner, because it changed my life. I couldn't necessarily take the steps to get to the grass at that time. So it showed up when I was feeling better. And I could take those 10 steps or 12 steps and the 2 stairs to get to the grass. But it was my family just observed and they watched me and they saw how determined I was. They saw how healthy I was becoming because I was losing a ton of weight. It probably because I wasn't eating much, but it was all, everything going in me was coming through 80% through a straw, which I still do today. So they saw me and they cooked all my meals, right? My husband washed my hair for me. So they were constantly in my care. They just were watching me do it in a different way. And it was as they saw me enjoy and saw me in these moments, and they got to observe who I was becoming and the work that I was doing. And then I was talking about my inner child and talking about all this stuff. They just really thought I was still going crazy for a while. And at the beginning, I told them that I was, hey, I'm going to be documenting this journey. And they didn't want any part of it. They wanted nothing to do with the Feargiveness frequency. They just wanted me to be happy. And whatever made me happy, they were here to support that. And now we're 5 years out, almost 6 years out. In March will be our 6th year. And they are now, oh, sure, you could tell parts of my story, or, oh, we love them. I wish they had. My daughter says that her trauma is from having to grow up so fast and become a caregiver. And I totally agree. As she moved out 3 years ago, that's where this journey was completely taking fold. And so she sees a different person now than she did then. And that's been a little bit challenging for her because I'm not the same person that I was 5 years ago. And she's getting a healed version, seeing a healed version now, a healing version. She didn't get that before. Right. So there's been a little, there's a lot of healing that we're still doing, but
yeah. Does she feel like a little resentful about that not being, that makes total sense.
Yeah, she does. And my son, who is 28, and he has been here and nearby, and so he gets to see it. And he's also kind of my guinea pig when it comes to healing. When like Reiki, can I do a Reiki session on you? Okay, mom, sure. But then he has great growth and healing from it. So my husband, the same thing. So they've all adapted really, really well, and they're very super supportive of me. They come out and they do barefoot grounding with me. They're always drinking their water. So it's rubbing off. You don't necessarily have to make someone do something, but they'll watch you. You do it, right? You lead the way. And then you see them drinking their drink. They drink juices with me every day. There's ones that they like that they'll drink. And so, it's definitely changed the entire family dynamic.
Yeah. And it's that ripple effect, right? And I always say, even on here, I've said it many times, like somebody has to go first and they see the change in you. And how can they not jump on board? They're like, something's working, and I love listening to your story about the steps, because it's like, I could just see the unfolding. I could see the awakening. I could see, and I totally understand it too, that just little chunk at a time, all of a sudden your eyes are a little wider. You can see a little clearer. You get a little bit of a skip in your step, and things start to really transform. It's amazing. I have so many questions. And like I told you before we even started recording, sometimes I have questions and I was like, I'm just going to let this is just going to flow. That's all it's going to do.
I just want to say, with barefoot grounding, for those who suffer in chronic pain, it will take me, when I wake up, I'll wake up in pain based on however the movement of my cervical spine happened throughout the night. I will go from an 8 to a 2 just by going outside and standing on the grass, and for however long I can stand before my spine drains out every day. So the moment I stand up, my spinal drain will start, and that's the holes and tears in my neck. It's a CFS leak. So it's about 3 to 4 hours every day that my spinal drain I'll have to sit still and pour it out. Before, I would sit in pain. And now with barefoot grounding, I'll stand out there until my spinal drain starts. And then I'll come inside and I'll use that time that I would sit, in so much pain and darkness, that my subconscious mind would take me to these places that we've all lived there in the numbness. But now I can use energy work, and I can meditate, and I can do mirror work. I could journal, voice, or however I can get that. I do a lot of my Feargiveness Frequency now, my jam sessions in that 3 hours that I'm already sitting there draining my spinal drain. And it's just a beautiful time now, where before it used to be very painful. So barefoot grounding, I can't say enough about it. If you do it at sunrise and sunset, you get the extra gamma rays. So it's like extra brownie points. So it just magnifies it a little bit more.
Can you explain it a little bit for people who have never heard of it before? They don't even know how it works, what you mean. And I'm still quite in awe of the fact that you still go out in the wintertime.
I do. In the
And
snow. Our deck is a little slippery. So my husband, like, he really wants to make sure that I'll wear like my slippers out if it's super slippery. But then the minute I get to the grass, my feet have like imprinted into the ground from this one spot that I stand. I was guided through a pop of color to stand eastbound. So facing the east, facing the sunrise. And then you just stand there barefoot. So before I would just stand there like, okay, do. And now through pops of color, it's kind of a process for me. I will use that time instead of just standing idle, which you can stand idle. You could stand and drink your cup of coffee. You could, if you have glasses on, it's recommended through a pop of color to remove your glasses just so your eyes and body receive all of the sunrise energy. You could drink your 11 sips of water before you go outside, and within 11 minutes, you're already flowing that energy through. So you can combine and layer all this goodness. But I open up my lymphatic system while I stand there. So it's just gentle. It's just gentle, like just kind of like you're waking a baby. You're just opening up your lymphatic system and behind your ears, under your arms. So I'll go through, because my hands are usually asleep in the morning. So it takes a while for the circulation to get into my hands. So I'll use that time while I'm out there because it's amplified of the energy, and I'll allow the energy from the earth. It's called earthing or grounding, but it's just removing any negative energy from you. Your body, scientifically proven, the body cannot hold inflammation in a body that's energetically grounded. So the inflammation just kind of moves itself through. The earth takes it in all the special ways that Mother Earth helps us. But I'll use that time to open up my lymphatic draining system while I'm standing there. I'll shake out my hands. There's acupuncture and acupressure points that I'll use. So it's just like this little routine. And then at the end of it, when I'm completely like given it all back, and I can feel that I'm no longer in, like, the pain is subsiding. And that's when I'll just ask the universe or source or whoever you connect with, how can I be of service to you today? And that's when I just I receive these beautiful messages. Sometimes it's just rest and rejuvenate. Sometimes it's drink more water. Other times it's, it'll say, do something fun, dance. And it's just these little tiny guidance of how I can show up today for myself, for the children, however I'm going to be in sacred service. It comes through in those moments. And then I'll come back inside and I'll start my spinal drain. And for others, you would move on to breakfast or getting ready for work. So it really is about 10 minutes. If you can give yourself 10 minutes, if you end up being out there longer because you love the morning birds and you want to watch them all fly in, then awesome. Sunsets, the same thing, just taking a moment to enjoy the colors that are arising or leaving, however they come. But it's really super. If I could say anything besides bringing in color into your world, barefoot grounding is a game changer for chronic pain.
And I would also agree with you. Before we started this podcast, I spent probably 10, 15 minutes putting on my 80s club music and danced around. I do that a lot.
Love that.
And I also have a trampoline, which I'll jump on that multiple times during the day. Same thing, that lymphatic drainage, get that energy flowing. I'm a little bit more of a chicken than you when it comes to the cold weather. So I did get myself a grounding mat. And I sit and do my puzzles. Everybody who knows me knows I love my puzzles. And I will put my feet on the grounding mat while I'm doing the puzzles. And I've watched a lot of videos about them putting, an energy reader in the ground and seeing the amount of energy that comes from the ground that goes right up into your feet and just throughout your whole entire body. And it's just a proven fact that you're getting this goodness from the earth, which is crazy. If you told me that in 2019, I would have said, you guys are all crazy.
Agreed. I would have been right there with you. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not doing that. I
No.
do struggle if it's pouring down rain, and I live in Washington, which it rains a lot. So when on the days that it rains, I'll still stand at the door and do the lymphatic draining. But then I'll use a linen sheet. So linen has fabrics have frequencies, but linen has a 5,000 frequency. And so I will use linen. I have a sheet that I use during meditation. I have one on me right now. And it just gives you the grounding, the energy and the frequency when you can't be outside. So if you are in a place where you can't get to ground, to do barefoot grounding, water, putting your hands under the sink underwater does the same thing. So just not super hot water, not super cold, just kind of right in the middle, and allow that energy to flow. That'll give you the same concept of grounding. And you just set the intention, please remove all energy that's not mine and allow me to receive. Say, and then I can do that with linen too on those days where I just can't get outside. That those are my little tricks.
And I've been learning a lot about energy lately. I've signed up for a somatic energy healing course, and it is all so brand new to me, but at the same time, it makes so much sense. If you're around somebody, you're like, oh, I love their energy, or oh, I don't know, I just don't feel like I jive. And back in the day, it's like, I didn't know what that actually meant. And now, after taking just a little bit of this energy course, it's fascinating, fascinating, and how much control we actually have on how we feel mentally and physically.
And how much is stored in our body that we had no clue? Like our fascia system, I knew nothing about the fascia system a few years ago, and it was just this pop of color, just says, no, you have, though the big stuff, right? The big traumas. I have done the bee jamming sessions, and bee jamming means breath work, journaling, affirmations, mirror work, meditation, muscle movement,
Hallelujah.
music, uh, intuition, nature, and gratitude. So it is the bee jamming was just pouring in affirmations into myself of changing my subconscious mind by words. A mirror work, sitting in front of the mirror and having a conversation with myself. And it wasn't, I had a little hand mirror, and it was like the dollar store, right? And I would just hold it up to me in bed, surrounded by pillows, and I would have this conversation with myself. And music, messages come through music. And whether that's 80s music, I found it's like a spiritual reggae music, and it lights me up. And so whatever that is for you, that knowing that your body keeps score. So like somatic movements, you have to move. It's the muscle memory. So if you've ever had a child, that month that you had the child, the labor pains leading up to it, that the birth itself, you may feel every single month you're just a little off on that month. That is your body keeping score. If you had surgery in January, so every January is when I had my reconstructive surgery for my neck, and I will give myself such self-love and grace in the weeks leading up to it, right? The day of and the time after, because I'll be like, gosh, I don't know why I feel so weird. Your body does. Your body remembers what you endured 13 years ago. And And as you do that, it'll be less and less. You start to change the narrative as you do the somatic moving and move this and get to know what your body is telling you based on how you feel.
And that is really getting reconnected to your body. And that book, The Body Keeps the Score by Bessel van der Kolk, was life altering for me, as was How to Do the Work by Nicole
My
LaPerna.
favorite.
Yeah,
Yeah.
LaPerna. Is it LaPerna or LaFerma? I can't remember the last name, but I can put it in the show notes. But those books were life altering. And I keep saying, like, don't wait for the frying pan in the face moment, which was the cancer free. Like, my body was telling me, you need to stop. You need to slow down. I'm going to give you this weird allergy stuff and I'm going to let you try to figure that out. But I'm telling you, you have to change things. You have to, no, I'm just going to push through, keep going, keep going, keep going. And then I was like, all right, well, if you're not listening, I'm really going to give you something to listen to. And then the second I was diagnosed, I was like, I'm listening. I hear you.
I hear you.
Loud and clear, but we don't pay enough attention to the body. And when we're like disassociated, we're not connected to our body, the blame is, my hip hurts, I'm getting old, my neck hurts. Like when you talk about the fascia, I knew nothing about fascia other than working out. Like my fascia was tight or sore or whatever it was because I was training for triathlons. It had nothing to do with anything else. It's been so eye-opening, the whole body, and listening to your intuition about what it is you do need is a whole next level. I think I said it on the last podcast. I talked about going to the Pink concert right before I was diagnosed, when I was still drinking and very free dancing. Of course, the alcohol was letting me just all my inhibitions. And then Pink was my first concert when I was done with my cancer treatment and I was out in the world for the first time and not drinking. I did not know how to move my body. It was like an alien. I was so awkward and uncomfortable. And I think about where I am now. I didn't know how to live without the alcohol.
Yeah.
And my body didn't know how to move. Now my body's like, woo, let's do this, let's do that. So it's kind of crazy how disconnected we can become to ourselves because of our trauma.
It does. And the alcohol gives you that inhibition, right? And finding that, though, the inhibition is now you don't care what other people think about you, where the alcohol gave you that, right? Mm-hmm. This is finding it for yourself and your own sovereignty. Like, I don't care if my neighbors see me standing every single day, shaking, my hands out and doing whatever I do on the grass. Like, mm-hmm. And then that allows you to dance outside, right? That allows you the inhibition to create a TikTok video. Like it breaks that down because I have survived and thrived, and look at me, I'm still here. So whatever brings me joy, you do you. I'm gonna shine. I'm gonna stay over here and I'm gonna shine a little bit brighter.
Yeah, and you shine so freaking bright. Every time I bump into one of your TikTok videos, it puts a smile on my face. It's amazing what you're putting out there for the world, honestly. And speaking of that, let's talk about the children. Let's talk about the orphanage. Let's talk about the SPEAKUp with color, right?
SPEAKUp in color, yeah.
And I want to honor, and I hate that I can't think of her name right now.
Florentina.
I want to honor her and her family and all that you did for her. And I would love to just talk a little bit about her and what you did for her with the story time. And, I feel like that we could sit here for 5 hours and talk about all that you do. But so the children, like, let's just talk about all that.
Let's talk about the children. In that same year, that 2021, once I survived, right, I was, once I made it through that and I could see that I could do this in color and do this without pain, meds or alcohol, it was just me. I poured into sacred service. Like I was surrendered. I had denounced God in my life at 17 because of so many things that had happened to me. It was like, well, if there was a God, then these things would not have happened to me. I had just walked away from religion, everything. And when 2020 happened and I'd made it through that 1 year and I was, 6 months sober, and I was just like, my my eyes were brighter. I could start to see color. That's when I just surrendered to service. Like, where do you need me now? Where do you need me today? And it was going through being a mentor and a guide for the teaching you guys of how to be public speakers. It was in those moments where it was just like, I didn't care the outcome. I just wanted to be in service. And then I met this beautiful sisterhood that was created. And it was through that and those connections of just showing up every day that I was asked to speak at a motivational speaking event that was raising funds for a little girl who was battling neuroblastoma, stage 4, and her name was Florentina. And I was 5,000 miles away. So I was just helping get this event. There was a ton of celebrities. There was all these like massive people that were going to be a part of it. But the updates we were receiving about Florentina were not good. Like, we didn't even know she was going to make it to the event. She wasn't eating. She was in radiotherapy. So she was radioactive. She couldn't see her family. She was struggling. And it was a pop of color that said, just read her story. Like, every kid needs a story. So I recorded a story on my phone. It was my godson and my children's favorite story, which is Grover. There's a monster at the end of this book by Sesame Street. And it was all about fear. He was afraid of finding the monster at the end of the book. In the end, it was him. And I sent it to her family, and they emailed, or they sent the message back saying, wow, thank you so much for that. She finally started eating after that story. And that was within 24 hours. She had turned a corner just from the story. And so I said, okay, well, while this event is happening, what if we just read her stories? And I knew within our sisterhood, we had sisters who were children's book authors. Mm-hmm. And so I just put out this call to the family. How about we create these story times for Florentina? We did them twice a week. And what it did is allowed her family to see her, which she had been in a hospital for 6 months. She allowed her grandmother and aunts and uncles to show up and actually be on screen where they couldn't be in the hospital with her because she was radioactive. They could come on these story times. And I have goosebumps because it just kind of created this beautiful Florentina and Friends story times. And I would just show up and either read her story or find an author. We ended up having 20 unique authors, children's book authors from around the world that would come and read stories. And they came back multiple times. Granny Mac was one of them, our beautiful friend from New Zealand. And many of the beautiful hearts that I met on Clubhouse came and read these stories. So we did that for her first entire year of treatment. And when Florentina was done with her first treatment, she was heading back to school. That's when we wanted to give back for her. And we met the Selecho Orphanage and the director, Chi. She had 100 kids and she lived in Zambia, Africa. And she had an orphanage. She was only 28 years old. She had the orphanage. She started when she was 18. After living on the streets, she worked in a hair salon to earn the money to have enough to buy a license to have an orphanage. And then she just gathered up all of her friends, all of the children she lived on the streets with, and she created a home and a family for them. And it was 10 years later, and she still was going at it. And she had lost all of her financial income in 2020 when the world shut down. She had to close her business and sell her car. So that was the first time she was reaching out to the world. So we started creating Saturday schools of color. And again, it's just all divinely guided of where to go and be of service. So we created through that SPEAKUp in Color. And that's where we have been teaching these children how to color their own emotions, how to read, how to write. They just have beautiful angelic voices that they sing. And we did fundraising for those first couple of years to buy them land. So we purchased land in Zambia that we are going to be able to build a forever home and school of color. And we started the foundation of their forever home this last year. So the foundation's done as of December, I think 10th. The foundation's in. We are just guiding through the rainy season at the moment, and then we'll start building up the walls. But yeah, it's been beautiful to see these children thrive. And during this transition, Florentina, her journey, she had 3 relapses in her cancer, and she lost her battle with cancer November of 2024. She gained her angel wings, but she has guided me, continues to guide me in building a little free library outside our house. She has a beautiful little plaque out there, and we got to put all of her stories. Yeah, I mean, I ended up with hundreds of storybooks, and we're able to start this little free library. And it's just all these different avenues of ways to serve the children and teach them how to color their emotions. So outside my home, I have this interactive free little library with a ton of books in it. And there's like a mirror for mirror work, and it has affirmations that they can stand and read. There is a box next to it that has all of the colored emotion stickers on it, and a chart that says, name your emotion. And then we built like a hopscotch with all color. So it's really, it just brings me so much joy to not only see my community stop by and adults hopscotching and getting books. And I have a garage full of books now that people just keep dropping off more books and more books. So I will be able to fill this library for at least another year or so to come.
And if we go from the beginning of our conversation to now and go back to that ripple effect and the word surrender, that is like so powerful, such a powerful word for me, because until you surrender, you're just fighting. Whatever it is, you're just fighting. All of these beautiful things come from surrender. It's really, the ripple effect is just amazing.
And the miracles, like I am a walking miracle of God now. And I can say that, which I would never have been able to say that even 3 years ago, that I just, in that surrender and service, these miracles started to happen, that my ups got to be a little bit longer. And the pain peaks weren't this dark and gray area that you had to come back from or you wouldn't come back from. They're sunshine and roses. Even though I'm still gone, I still pass out from pain. Now they're called energy resets. But the miracles that just keep showing up in my life because I have done that. I've just continued to live in surrender. I don't necessarily plan out the year ahead. I know that it will lay itself out for me. And this year, the color of the year, I don't know if you've had a chance to look at it, but it's white. So Pantone, for the first time in 26 years, they literally, not even coloring outside the box, they erased the lines and they did this white, and it's called Cloud Dancer. And when I tapped into the energy, the first thing I was surrounded with was Florentina, with all of the loved ones that I've lost recently. Were like, just, this is a dance, this is a celebration, and that's what the year ahead holds. It's this blank canvas that we get to color. And really, instead of going up into the ethers with this Cloud Dancer, we're bringing heaven to earth and bringing down these beautiful energies. And yeah, there's so much in store. Who knows how we're going to color it?
That's super exciting. Love that. All right. So how can people support you? How can they donate? How can they physically, emotionally, financially? How can they support you in what you do at the orphanage or anything else? And I was on your website, which I don't think I've ever been on your website. And I see that you have a course there now. And so tell me a little bit about that stuff.
Yeah. So we created a donation-based healing center. So this is the website that it's 80andsunny.com, where it's kind of a twofer. You can get an energy healing or take one of the courses or pour into you and learn more about the Feargiveness Frequency. And 100% of the funds of those services go directly to the children. And that goes to helping us build out our school of color and their forever home. If you would like to connect with just donating, you can do that from the same website, or you can connect with our GoFundMe directly that gives you updates on the children. It really, everything funnels back to the children. And that's the way that the universe has really set that up. I need for nothing. And in this world, I really want to make sure that there is a place and space that we get to actually pay it forward, but we can also heal in the process. So I really encourage anyone who wants to tap into color or tap into your forgiveness frequency. I've just, as a gift to 2026, the course that allows you to activate your forgiveness frequency that we all have, it just needs to light your flame, is free on our YouTube channel. So I just loaded that in the last couple of days. So you can take the signature course for free. You get to activate your forgiveness frequency. If you would like to have a 30-minute powwow with me where we get to activate your birth color, your birth flame, it's the color that is written for you in the stars that really ignites your forgiveness frequency, you can do that and schedule that through the website, or just send me a message on any of the platforms that I have. So yeah, everything I do is for the kids. And this year we have a massive goal. So once the foundation is now done, we're going to have to build the walls. And that's over 20,000 bricks. And these are like cement blocks. Each block costs $1. Plus we have the materials of the cement and everything. So yeah, our goal this year, we have to raise about $30,000 to get the walls built for the Children's Forever Home. And so you can do that in any way that you can to help support us.
And what exactly is the Akashic Reiki?
Yeah.
What is the definition of that?
So the Akashic field is everything. It's an energy field that surrounds us. That is everything that's ever happened to us in our lives. And when you tap into the energetic field, so you have your chakras, and then you have layers of fields of energy that go out. And the Akashic field just holds everything that's ever happened to you, past, present, and future. And so it will, when we tap into the Akashic field for Reiki, which Reiki is a healing life force energy, when we tap into the Akashic field, we are able to go into all of those layers and release what no longer serves you. It helps you to heal on a deeper level. And it may be gestational trauma that you brought and were birthed into this world carrying. It could be ancestral trauma that's showing up in your life and looping through. So the Akashic field, when we do Akashic Reiki, it gives you exactly what you need. It will go in and it will clear those without you having to necessarily go through the ancestral healing. It's going to pull it to the surface and clear it. And you may walk away and realize, wow, I have a fear of spiders, and I don't know why I have a fear of spiders, but I no longer am afraid of spiders. It'll clear that out for you. I had a fear of scary movies. Like, it just hurts my heart to watch a scary movie.
Same.
In the Akashic field, though, it wasn't mine to carry, because I had so many ancestors that had been through war and had been through and seen those things firsthand, that it just was a gestational and an ancestral fear that I had. That is where the Akashic Reiki just allows you to kind of go in and clear away that clutter. And it's just a beautiful modality. It's Reiki, but it's taking it into the Akashic field. And then the work that I get to do personally is in the celestial field, in the God frequency. So I get to bring that down and pour that into those that I serve. And I can do that personally with hands-on, or I can do that distance healing anywhere in the world. I work a lot with children and helping them to clear emotions from their body. Most of them are ones their parents gave them. But when you heal one, if you healed a child, it heals forward and backwards. So if you decided to be that person to take on and be the change, you are healing those who come before you, and you're healing those who come after you. So you are a change maker. Literally, you can change the course of your entire future family line just by you doing the work and showing up and healing.
That's amazing. I cannot thank you enough for being here today. And again, you know how much I love you. what you're putting out in the world, what you're doing in the world, what you're doing with the children. I mean, I got chills about 900 times while we were having this conversation, tears in my eyes. Like, it's just, you fill my heart.
I appreciate being here. And I know that like you are creating a legacy for others to lead and to follow and to sit in your chair, your beautiful chair. And we've all been in the chair of someone who's cut our hair. And that's kind of that you are this sacred, earth walking angel truly, and the work that you did in your career and now the work that you're continuing to do outside of it, and allowing all of us the opportunity just to sit within your energy. And I can't wait for your book. Like,
It's coming. It's coming.
I cannot wait to flip page by page and just hold that book dear.
It's coming. It's coming. All right, my friend. Thank you so much. And I'm sure you'll be back again.
I hope so. Thank you, everyone, for being here. And thank you so much for allowing me to open my trash can and bring you in on a little bit of the Feargiveness frequency.
Love it.